All right, we're live.
Are we
Let me just tweet it.
Yeah, let me tweet it. All right, just retweeted. Oh man. All right, let's do it. We gotta believe. I'm having a rough one today, Clem. I just got out of bed. I think today was like a quarantine depression day for me. So I got a fucking whole box of our people over at Donuts. Duncan, shout out to them.
Viva la Duncan.
Yeah. I was thinking to myself, and maybe we can do a little Podfathers here crossover. The reason why I'm so admirable of guys like you is like you can't even have you don't get to have a day like this. Like you always when you're still married and you got the kids in the house all the time, you're like you can't just fucking be like, all right, I'm depressed today, I'm gonna stay in bed till 11. You always got to get up and go, and that sucks.
It's just constant. I'm in the shit. I'm down 0-2 every single time with 2 outs, and I know the curveball's coming, and I have to swing at it and stay alive. And that's all I'm doing is just trying to foul it off every single day until this shit ends, which honestly, I don't know if it's ever going to end. The only thing that's keeping me going right now, because then I have to go to work, and obviously we have a boss who wants to make sure the numbers are up and everything. It's not like we have some people are kind of just, thank God we have jobs, right? But the only thing keeping me going is like, even work I can't do because I can't have a bunch of noise and shit, and I have kids running upstairs. These Bose headphones have saved my life. That goddamn draft show has saved my life because it cancels the noise, and I can't hear all the craziness going on upstairs. Yep. And I was in the same boat though, dude. I turn off the lights downstairs and I just blog. And I was like, I'm not showering today, this and that. And then Kyle hits us with 12 o'clock, and I was like, oh shit, today's Thursday. I thought today was Wednesday the entire day.
I was the opposite. I thought today was Friday. Forgot about the podcast, but you're Cal Ripken, bro. You're Iron Man. You got a streak going, and I'm like right now I'm like Manny McDonald. You know, over here. I'm just chilling.
He's eating donuts, just KFC being KFC. That's what we call you. We'll call you Manny Ramirez.
Going back to the old school, you know. I'm admirable to you guys. That was the one thing that I think really got me the most was, and why I didn't make it. I can't be like always fucking buried. I can't do it, and you guys always do it. It's unbelievable. All right, let's on to happier topics. The fucking New York Mets. Let's
our darkest timeline when you're saying that. The better topics now.
So we'll get into our bracket of misery, which has lasted us about a month now. We're gonna be the only podcast doing March Madness brackets in fucking July, but there's that many miserable moments to go through, and consider it Mets therapy where we can all remember and reminisce and commiserate together. But first, the new baseball news. We got to get into it. It's brought to you by Coors Light. Ice cold Coors Light. Look at those blue mountains. Look how blue they are. Look at the bluest mountains I've ever seen. You know what we should do? We should take a road trip to the mountains. I want to drink a Coors Light in the Rockies.
Golden, Colorado. We're going to visit our friends in Golden, Colorado, and we're going to brew our own Bud Light. I don't know if that's allowed in the quarantine, but we're going to try to make it happen.
We'll when the Mets play the Rockies, we'll hit up Golden, Colorado. We'll drink some Coors Light in the Blue Mountains, and we'll be happy men, because that's what life's all about: baseball and beer. If you're a guy, if you're a man, that's all you need in this world: baseball and beer. And Coors Light and baseball go together like peanut butter and jelly. They go together like KFC and Clem. It's one of the best combos in the history of men, in the history of the world. Baseball and Coors Light. Only drink them when the mountains are blue. I mean, I can't even imagine being a peasant and a commoner who's drinking Silver Mountain Coors Lights. Only Blue Mountains round here. We gotta believe. So thank you to Coors Light. You're the guys who keep us alive during baseball, because anybody who can watch the Mets without throwing back a few Coors Lights is a stronger man than I am. So
it's the official beer of the New York Mets. It's the official beer of We Gotta Believe. It's the official beer of fighting off the quarantine, basically. Like we said, it's 5 o'clock everywhere during quarantine. So shout out to Coors Light. We love you, baby.
So the new idea from MLB, well, not new, but it's kind of coming into picture a little bit more, is the realignment with the 10-team divisions that would be kind of regionally based. Phoenix, Texas, St. Petersburg, Florida. Those are like the 3 10-team spots based on, I guess, where you do your spring training. And so we would be in quite the division, in my opinion. I mean, this is like if Barstool could do a realignment. You know what I mean? Like if you have the Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Nats, Phillies all in the division, that's fucking crazy. That's goddamn insanity.
It's like the Avengers where they all come out of the portals. Yeah. Except they're all going to fight each other now because that's what this is going to be. This is going to be the thing that ends Barstool is just a straight up civil war. Like just fucking throw the Cubs and the White Sox in and let's just have a goddamn rough and rowdy basically. Now that's what it's going to become.
Are you happy to have some backup and have the Red Sox in the division? Because everyone else is an enemy. Phillies, Nats, Yankees.
Yeah.
Everybody else there either is indifferent or against us. Are you happy to have the Red Sox in the mix to maybe, like a tag team? Or like we could potentially be going head to head with Boston, which is something that we don't ever really do. And I'm always kind of a Mets Sox guy and all that shit.
I could not open arms, open legs. That's how I'm treating the Red Sox. I couldn't be happier to be in the same division with them. I'd love for these. If this quarantine, if anything can come from this coronavirus, the shit that's going to change afterwards, like I'm sure vacations aren't going to be the same, restaurants, movies, all that kind of stuff. If baseball ends up just adopting these 3 glom divisions just so then travel doesn't have to go as much, fine. Let's fucking rock and roll. I want to have the Red Sox. I'm sure we will learn to hate them over time. I embrace them as an ally with like one eye open though, because every time that fucker, like Carabas, I love Carabas, but like he always gives us that little smirk when shit happens to us. He's like, I feel bad for you guys. Yeah. I know I could learn to hate the Red Sox sooner or later, but if just having another guy to just hate the Yankees with and going up against the Yankees and just being in a fucking Royal Rumble every single day with those morons, we're the Dudley boys, man. We may not be the strongest guys on the block, but I mean, I'd love to try. The only thing is the Red Sox are kind of coming in a little weak this year, right?
What Kyle Huge! Huge! No West Coast night games. That is a life changer, Clem. Literally a life changer. Because first of all, I'm just an old man. I ain't staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch a regular season baseball game. Secondly, we're Mets fans. So you know those West Coast games are going to end in heartbreak, inevitably, because they always do. And so, I mean, do you remember this year? Do you remember this past year with the West Coast swing with the Dodgers and the Giants? That almost killed me. Those games almost fucking killed me. That ruined my whole week. I was a grown-ass adult that had a horrible week, 7 days, because of what that baseball team did to me out in California. I am not emotionally mature enough to handle the Mets on the West Coast.
I retired from West Coast games and you retired from extra inning games by like June. It wasn't like by like end of September. We're like, listen, I'm out. We did it in June. We're like, I'm out. No more West Coast. You can't just retire from West Coast games.
That was one of my favorite and one of my proudest moments is that we retired from certain games together. That's so fucking good. And then on the West Coast, I believe they had a couple that were both. When you get a West Coast extra innings game, it's just, all bets are off. Absolutely not. No fucking way.
And our guy Kyle too, we're like, you sick fuck, you stayed up for that whole game on a Saturday night? And he's like, yeah, I'm a Mets fan. We have a podcast. Like, you fucking idiot, you loser.
Well, I remember he felt semi-rewarded when they went on their run. And he was kind of like, I stuck with them through the thin. Now I'm here for the thick. And then obviously that didn't end up, the only way those can really be worth it is if they make the playoffs and go on and they're, then it's like, yeah, shame on us for jumping ship. Credit to you for sticking around. But in the end, when you give up, when you're there at like 2 o'clock in the morning watching a West Coast game against the Giants and then the season doesn't go anywhere, you just want to kill yourself. So that's an unbelievable perk. I'm actually happy that we'd be in the same division with the Yankees because it would get rid of all those fucking people who are like, why do you hate the Yankees? We don't even play against them. Well, now let's do it for real. We've been dancing. We've been like pseudo rivals, talking shit. It's all about the back pages, the headlines, the fans. Well, now, like, let's just get it on and be for real and do it, on the field. I mean, I don't like the fact that they're probably going to be like 105 win juggernaut, but at least there's, let's just fucking stop with the bullshit, cut to the chase. I'm looking around at the rest. Is this divided? Is this good, like, competitive wise?
I'll look at the other division. So the Centrals, the Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Cards, Royals, Reds, Indians, Twins, Braves. Oh, the Braves! I didn't even notice the Braves are out of our division.
Oh shit!
Fuck out of here, Atlanta! You fucking bitches, and Detroit. So I guess that's pretty, like, Angels, Dodgers, Giants, A's, Padres.
They're really taking. Let's just take the East. I didn't realize they're just taking the, with the exception of like the Braves here or there. You just take the East, the NL and AL East, the NL and AL Central, NL and AL West, and throw them together, right? I think the Astros, the Braves are the only thing that's like switching, right?
I don't know if it's based on any kind of. Well, the Braves are in Florida too, right? Because I don't know Florida versus Arizona and stuff like that in terms of spring training locations. But I mean, you could have put the Pirates in the Central because Pittsburgh way the fuck out there. But again,
they basically swapped the Pirates and the Braves.
Yes, and not having to deal with the baby Braves for one season, it's like this is our little mental year. We're going to be at war with Yankee fans and the Yankees every single night. So not having those like 7 Braves fans that just chirp like anyone gives a fuck about them, it will be kind of nice.
I don't even deal with the BCC anymore. Fuck the Braves. And I will take, you want to trade a perennial winner organization like the Braves for the fucking Pirates? Sign me up for that. Yes.
And it's kind of like going back to my Royal Rumble analogy. Like this is the Royal Rumble where the Yankees are the big guy in the ring and everyone just swarms them. It's going to be 9-on-1 the entire, because I know those AL East guys. I saw RDTs in the chat right now too. Like the Orioles fans, the Red Sox fans, like all those kind of different fan bases. They all are just like, yeah, well, and fuck the Yankees more than anything. So I kind of love, even us and the Phillies fans, we'd be like kind of side-eyeing each other, like, let's go beat the fuck out of this. That's our Thanos, you know what I mean?
Miami's my friend sort of thing. I mean, it's weird. I mean, with the Nats being the champs, I still just don't have the same level of hate for them that I do with these other teams. But, fuck them. At the same time,
I'll give you a hot take. I hate the Rays more than I hate the Nationals.
The Rays?
And you know why? And I like the Rays. I always kind of root for them. They let the Phillies win the World Series. If the Phillies don't win that World Series, there's no Phillies World Series. So I almost, in my heart of hearts, may have more hatred. Yeah, that's exactly what we'd be doing on that meme right there. I shouldn't say I love the Rays. I hate the Rays. You
can't hate the Rays, but I understand your point. The Phillies had no business winning that World Series. I mean, the Rays were a fucking wagon. They were such a good team. I thought that they were going to cruise in that World Series. I can't believe they got beat the way they did. And that fucking rain delay and all that shit. That was as tough as it gets. But you're right. You know what, though? At least it, happened. They got it over with. I wonder if they would have just kept adding pieces and kept rebuilding and, kept on. I don't know. It kind of – I mean, the Phillies had, a reign of terror there for a little bit. They fucking ran the show.
And no one talks about this because they did win that one. And obviously, if they lose it, a million other things could have happened. I feel like that team left World Series on the I mean, remember when their fucking rotation, Holiday, Hamels,
Cliff Lee.
Yeah, Cliff fucking Lee.
It was four. It was four. It was Oswalt, Holiday, Hamels.
Oswalt.
They had. We always talk about our 4 aces. Those were legit 4 fucking aces. Everyone has a Cy Young type of rotation, and their lineup of Rollins, Utley, Howard, Worth. Those guys.
Shane Victorino. I don't know how did they not win at least 2 to 3 World Series.
I remember stacking our lineup against theirs because we had that all-star team as well, and they could go toe to toe with us bat for bat. And then on top of that, they had the fucking stacked rotation. And at the time, Brad Lidge was dialed in. that should have been a little dynasty right there. The Lidge to nowhere.
Lights out Lidge. Holy shit, I forgot about that too. Oh my god, that Phillies team. You don't talk about a wagon. I'll actually take. I'm gonna walk back my Rays take. I will now take blame because the way the Rays lost that World Series, that's on us. There was enough bad Mets juju that the baseball guys were like, "This is gonna really
we gotta put the Mets
up their ass."
Yeah. And honestly, that was
8, right?
Wait a minute.
09. Oh wait.
Yeah. We're all mixed up here. Wait, when
07,
okay.
They lost, but they beat us. Oh wait, they win. And they lose to the Yanks.
Right. Okay, so that was back-to-back appearances for them. They won the first, lost the second to the Yankees. So I mean, I can't blame a team if you go back-to-back World Series and you take home one. It's pretty solid. It's
pretty solid, but I don't think they even had what they had. But like they had those guys for a couple years. I know like there was some injuries and shit like that. Like always happens with pitchers.
Right. I mean, they won the East like 5 years in a row because they just kept trotting out there. That same like front six was unbelievable. But this day and age, it's tough to get back there, as consistently. I mean, I guess the Dodgers are doing it as well, but that was terrible. That was a really dark time. That was a really, really dark time. Yankees awesome in winning the World Series. Phillies winning the World Series. I mean, it's just never good for us, dude. It's just never good, ever.
People that listen to this podcast, they're like so like tired out from life, and they're like, "All right, let me go listen." And then we're just like, "It's never good.
It's awful. It's all terrible." Like,
well, this is the thing, Kev. Too. Listen to this: the team that won the World Series, that Phillies team, Hamels, Moyer, Brett Myers, Adam, Joe Blanton, and Kyle Kendrick were their starters.
That's
and
the one that won.
That's the one that won, and then the one that lost the World Series. It was Blanton, Hamels, J.A. Happ, Jamie Moyer, Cliff Lee. So it wasn't those like I think they got Halladay in 2010, which is when everyone's like, well, they almost won it the year before.
Right.
They definitely win it now. And they went from they went from 93 wins to 97 with Halladay, but then they ended up
first round exit, right?
They lost to the Giants because that was when the Giants even year shit was going on.
I remember Halladay threw that either no hitter or perfect game in the playoffs, and I was like, "Oh fuck, we." And by the grace of God, they didn't get it done. I mean, they were that team. As a Phillies fan, you know beggars can't be choosers, and you're not the type to get greedy like Yankees fans. But you gotta have feelings of like, we won with Blanton and Jamie Moyer. And we didn't with Halladay and Lee and Oswalt and shit. Like, oh my God, you gotta keep that's got to keep you up at night a little bit. Even though, like I say, if I can get one, you give me one. I don't care if we have 100-win team 10 years in a row and we only won once. I just need the one. But certainly, you can make the argument that they didn't live up to their expectations. So where are they at now? I mean, I feel like they're going. The thing about the Phillies is, once they signed Bryce, like they kind of signaled like they're a major player. They're spending money and they're going to go after it. So when you're in a division with the Yankees who spend, the Red Sox who spend, the Phillies who spend, the Nationals who spend enough and just won, I mean, you're in a fucking great division. That is not where you want to play. And them's the breaks.
And that's the thing is it's so funny looking back now that during the entire Garrett Cole, they're chasing him, the rumors, maybe the Angels, Hubs, and all the Yankees fans fucking, coming themselves every time he throws a pitch. And it's like, who would have thought we could be facing Garrett Cole on opening day in our division? It's like, it's so fucked how this is broken for us right now. We now have to face the Garrett Cole Yankees because of the way this is all broken. I actually have to I have to tip the cap to the baseball.
Yeah. You know what? I thought I was prepared for everything. I thought 35 years in, I knew what was coming. And a tip of my cap, my lady, the sports gods find a new way to fuck me. What the goddamn fuck? Just right up the ass. Just right up the ass.
God damn it.
Now, I mean, the only thing I'll say is that, oddly enough, the Subway Series seems to always kind of be relatively like a 500 type of series. It really is. It's very rare that either team runs away with it. So I don't know if it would be, I don't think either team really can be excited. I think it's just another like normal opponent to be facing. But if you're the Yankees and you got to now just in addition to the regular AL East juggernaut, you got to deal with the Nats and Phillies. Not great.
No, I mean,
I think I might be biased. This might be because this is what I live and breathe. But I think that division would be the strongest. The NL Central is always pretty stacked. They're very competitive. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't watch enough West Coast baseball. I don't know enough about the Diamondbacks and the Padres and the Rangers and shit. But I feel like that East division is pretty competitive.
And we're actually, again, I think we're kind of lucky in terms of the Red Sox aren't going to be in terms of like they gave away Mookie and just feel sales out for the year now. So we're definitely catching them on an off year, which this actually, in a sick way, like good. Like the Yankees were going to probably have to deal with the Rays doing Rays shit. The Orioles were going to lose like another 100 games. The Blue Jays were going to be fun as shit with young guys, but you never know how young guys are going to develop, that early in their year, which I'm actually kind of stoked at. Now we're going to get fucking Bo Bichette and we're going to get another Vladdy back. Vladdy Jr. is going to run train on us like his father did. He is going to murder us. He's going to skin us alive like Ramsey Bolton, basically.
Absolutely. Dude, Vlad was so good against the Mets. Especially in Expos days, when he was first coming up, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What planet is this guy from? He's fucking disgusting.
Vlad was not only great, but also cool, is I never had an ounce of anger towards him. And he killed us. He killed us with his arm. He killed us with his bat. And I was like, I just want this guy on the Mets so badly. Yeah. But I was like, he was just so awesome. Like, I don't know. I think Vlad might be my favorite player of the 90s.
Really?
Or 2000, whatever you want to call that. But I think just between the arm, the fact his name was Vladimir Guerrero, it's almost like Seth Lugo. It's a fucking paradox in itself. It's like a Russian fucking Spanish Latin dude.
Yeah. I would, if you're saying favorite player of the 90s, as cliche as it is, I think it's got to be Griffey.
Yeah, I never latched on to Griffey as it was almost like maybe a little bit of a lot of the kids that I went to school with, they were Bulls fans, they were Notre Dame fans, they were Duke fans, and they were Griffey guys. And I was like, well, I fucking hate these guys for everything else. I was
going to say, it is a little bit like he's like the Jordan of baseball, where it's like he's just, it doesn't even matter where he plays or what he does. It's just that he's fucking cool and has this air about him. But Vlad is an awesome pick for baseball purposes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable choice.
I will say too, like I love fucking King Griffey. I think all of us, like, probably the highlight of our 90s was watching him slide across the plate against the Yankees and getting the pig pile on and all that kind of shit. It was the last moment of happiness we had as Yankee haters for the rest of the
year. That was it. That was
it. 97. Who got the hit? Sandy Alomar Jr., right? That was the guy who got the hit off. But that was all we had every other year. It ended with the Yankees celebrating on the mound.
From first on that hit was unreal. I wish someone had told me. Soak it in, kid, because the next 10 years is going to be hell on earth. Incredible, man.
The best thing about Vladdy, too, is Griffey was so clean and so cool, which I love. Vlad, he had his legs were 6 inches different in height. Like he was always fucking he's like a peg-leg pirate.
Yeah. So along with realignment, they're going to do 100-game regular seasons starting in June. Top 4 teams make the postseason. So that's 12 teams in the postseason. The 4 best teams get a first-round bye, and then the 8 playoff teams go into 4 one-game playoffs. Okay. And then the winners of that play best of 5, and then best of 7. So we're just adding extra playoff teams for wild card rounds. And then the teams that get the first round bye play in the DS and the CS. That's pretty cool. I mean,
is this 7-inning game bullshit? Is this the 7-inning game robot umpire bullshit?
I'm not reading that on CBS. Okay. It just says 100 game season starting in July. Is that enough? So you're gonna July, August, September.
You could go later too because it's Florida, and I guess it doesn't matter.
You have to, because if you play like, don't you play like 25 games a month?
Yeah. So
July, September, August, you're only at 75. So it's
September. Yeah, the 4 times 25, right?
You'd have to play. I think you'd have to play like a lot of regular season in October as well.
Okay, but again, like if they go into November, December, I feel like it's definitely getting warmer than it is here at that point. Right. They play into November when shit strikes the finish.
I like that better. I like just the 100 games sprint to the finish line. Let's fucking go. Originally last time they talked about adding playoff teams, I was against it, but in this world of like, fuck it. Who knows what's going on here? I think what is this year? Looks like they did sort of CBS did some sort of, I guess, simulation, and they have the Red Sox winning the division at 60 and 40, and they have the Yankees finishing 10 games out at 50 and 50.
That is some fucking, like, that's just trying to get clicks for their thing, being like the Yankees are gonna not make the playoffs and blah blah blah, and then everyone just retweets it and takes it as their thing and runs with it. Because I honestly don't even know who are the Red Sox? Who are their what's their rotation like?
I mean, the Red Sox are going to be awful, aren't they?
I would think so.
This is, I don't know if this is just someone. What is OOTP, Kyle? Do you know what that means? Out of the park baseball. Okay, so they did a video game series. So that's if someone is just playing video games. I don't know if that's a simulation using like stats or if it's just someone playing. But using out of the park baseball, the Red Sox cruise and the Rays, Pirates, Phillies, Yankees, and Nationals all make the playoffs. And then here's how they have the playoffs going. The Dodgers beat the Red Sox to get into the World Series. The Rays beat the Angels, and then the Rays in 6 games beat the Dodgers for the World Series.
If I had to choose a team to win this, not even looking at all the teams and all, it's the Rays. They're figuring out some mathematical equation of the best way to play in a 100-game season with all these weird fucking rules. They're pulling some fucking tomfoolery is what it is. For the tomfoolery Tampa Bay Rays is what they should be called. I don't know. I'm looking at the Red Sox. I mean, their lineup's still legit, right? Benintendi, Devers, Bogarts, JD Martinez, second best JD in the division now. Didn't see that coming.
Right. Welcome to the fucking show, Martinez. We got David running the program here in New York. They have the Mets going 46 and 54, 14 games out.
Again,
extremely disappointing.
Not having Noah is really going to hurt if we're going to be facing the Yankees like 20 times this season or 10, whatever it is. Like just having, actually, I don't know. I feel like Noah was never great against the Yankees. I always felt like he was getting in his own head. Yeah,
but I want a powerful arm to try to go up against those bats,
Yeah.
What's interesting here is in the East, this simulation has all of the playoff teams winning like pretty handily. The Mets are 4 games behind the Nationals to make the playoffs, and the Blue Jays are 2 games behind them. So it's not this projection didn't have it being like a dogfight down to like the very last day. They pretty handily got the job done. So I mean, all pie in the sky, all very hopeful. We can dream. I don't know what to expect. You got Fauci out there saying, don't expect any sports this year. You have Major League Baseball saying, we guarantee there will be some form of baseball in 2020. I think everybody in each respective field, baseball and the Health Institute, are probably covering their ass, trying to set expectations or trying to, keep fans interested. Like, in baseball's got like a popularity problem. They've got an interest problem. If all of a sudden they just said, all right, we're done, the articles aren't being written, the podcasts aren't being recorded.
Yeah.
Even if they know deep down that it's not going to happen, I think it's smart of them to keep dangling the carrot just to keep the clicks and the talk and all that shit up there. So I don't think they can afford to be honest if it truly is like far-fetched. I I don't know. What do you think? I feel like we've definitely turned a corner in public perception. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know. But I know that people are kind of like just in general, from talking to people and living and existing, you can feel people being a little more confident, a little less scared, a little more like, what the fuck are we doing? So again, I don't know if that's correct, but that definitely has happened publicly. I don't know if that is because of, if the Health Institute or whoever wants that to happen, but that's definitely happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like because we just every single day it was like you just saw the curve or whatever. It was just going up, 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 up. So the fact that it has flattened at least around us, even though it's still just like catastrophic amounts of bad news every single day. But it was so funny where Fauci says, yeah, no sports till 2021 at the earliest, and then baseball like came out like, and it's like the thing is like it's like the governor of Florida is telling me like the governor of Florida is the last person on the planet I listen to, other than if there's the mayor of Florida,
legitimately, any official from Florida, I trust less than anyone on the planet Earth. You could give me a criminal straight from his jail cell in Rikers who's like a murderer and a scoundrel. And I'd be like, let's trust this guy over the fucking governor of Florida. Give me a break.
I would trust, I think, a Wilpon more than I would trust because you're a Florida man at the end of the day.
Well, you might get your chance because Cuomo has announced his advisory board to like try to restart the world, and included in it is James Dolan, Jeff Wilpon, basically all the owners of New York teams. Now, I kind of that was a little clickbaity because if you click on that link, the advisory board is like 150 people. It's huge.
I think Dave's on it. I think Portnoy's on it. They just everyone that has like manages employees. They just
I mean, they definitely were like, all right, we got to, sports is going to be part of the restarting, so we got to include them. But I thought that it was like a board of like 6 people sitting around like talking, and those would be the worst fucking choices ever. But I think that there's also a difference between sports coming back and sports with fans coming back. Yeah, you might be like, you ain't getting 50,000 people in a building anytime soon. And baseball is like, well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about getting, 50 guys on a field.
This is the thing though. Like, is there any doubt in your mind that when they, I think they'll go to each person in each field, right? Where it'll be like, hey, the police department, what do you guys need in terms of opening up and getting your people in? And then people who work in the stock market, stuff like that, and all this kind of shit. Jeff Wilpon, I feel like he's going to be like, oh no, like we are putting every player back and all the fans are going to be allowed in. He made Pedro Martinez pitch injured in a worthless game and ruined Pedro's fucking career, which should be like a blasphemous thing to do. It should be, it's like that's a holy fucking
word. That's not what I feel like people need to know that. Jeff Wilpon made Pedro Martinez pitch in a September game where they were completely eliminated because he wanted to sell tickets. And
it was Dontrell, him versus Dontrell was going to be a big thing. I love Dontrell, but who gives a shit?
I mean, to sell what? An extra? What do you think the walk-up is on Pedro at that stage in his career with a team that's eliminated? You get an extra couple, like 1,000, maybe?
I mean, and listen, I was going to a bunch of games back then. That's when I was young. I was fresh out of college. I had some money, and I just loved that Mets team. And I would always try to go to Pedro starts because I was like, I want to see the first no-hitter. I want to see the first no-hitter. I did not go to that September game, and I love the D train. I did not give a flying fuck about it. So the fact that like you're gonna tell me that guy's gonna is gonna take like, all right, no fans or like 10% of he's gonna be like, get everyone in this ballpark because I'm hemorrhaging money and I turned down a $2.6 billion deal because I'm a fucking asshole. I need every cent I can so my dad doesn't murder me, basically.
Which leads to the latest news that rumors have it. Clem's source once again revealing to us Uncle Stevie back in the mix.
He's out there. He's out there right now.
We out here, Steve Cohen. I still think if he's back in, I think he's the owner. If he's in the process, he will not be outbid.
If our girl, our queen, the queen of Mets, the Khaleesi of Mets Twitter, Laura Goldman, if she is accurate with her report, I shouldn't say put in the books yet because we're not saying
I need to know more about like what Steve Cohen being in on the bidding process means. Does it mean like, let me throw my hat in the ring one more time, or is it like we're back in this bitch? Because if he's back in this bitch, Nobody's going to outbid him. No one's going to beat him. He doesn't want to be viewed as like a loser. If it's just like 1.1 billion, like let me lowball them, see what they say, and if the Wilpons say no, whatever, then that could easily happen. If he's like, I my fire has been rekindled, I'm interested again. I want to be the owner of the Mets. I think he's the owner of the Mets.
Imagine if it's like, if you had told us like when that Cohen news broke, that or when he wasn't going to be the team owner, and then it was like, oh no, he's going to be the team owner, and on opening day, you'll be facing the Yankees in the first of your interdivision games in Florida. Like your head would have exploded. But this is the thing. During quarantine, nothing makes sense. Tom Brady is now a New England Patriot, is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Aliens are just basically being confirmed by the government. It's like everything is fake right now. So let's just keep it going. This is the only. I feel like we need him to get the team before the quarantine and the coronavirus ends, because that's when we go back to war. We're living in the upside down.
Yes.
Everything happens in the upside down. There's no rules.
We gotta get it done now, because once things resume, it'll be like, oh, wait a minute, we can't have Mets fans be happy. Right now, anything goes, man. Anything goes. It's like you know what we are right now? We're like Mario Kart. We've got the star.
Yes.
And we can just run through shit during quarantine. You break the rule. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to go to bed on time. You can eat whatever you want, say whatever you want. Everything is a free-for-all. And the day that the quarantine ends, the star expires, and you just go back to driving your little go-kart. So get it in now.
If you made it to first place, you're in first place. Like
right.
That's the thing. If we get Stevie, he's our guy. He's driving that car. We're in first place, and then we let the chips fall as they may from there. We need this to happen. Did you see Ravel's tweet about them being valued closer to 1.6 than 2.6 now? Which I don't know if that was. I feel like the Mets were never 2.6. I feel like Stevie was paying the extra money
He was definitely overpaying, but I thought he was only overpaying by like $500 million. I thought they were closer to 2. Yeah, shout out to Matt. If you told me beforehand, you got to go into quarantine for months, but it means that Steve Cohen's going to buy the Mets, sign me up. Maybe not all deaths. I don't know. If you told me that 10,000 people have to die, I'd probably say no, probably. But
I'm the Larry David gif.
Let's do a little Mets misery here. We'll wrap up with about 20 minutes of our bracket here.
So we'll get through one matchup or give or take.
Let's see where we're at. I think we moved over to a new division.
Yep, I think we're going to do the South.
Mets. Okay.
By the way, I'm keeping the same bracket, and I just put my coffee mug on it every day when I'm working. So it's really getting weather. This is the official quarantine bracket.
Gotta frame that when it's all done.
Yep, we got handwritten shit in there. It's legit.
All right, let's go. 116. Bernie Madoff versus Jerry Blevins falling off a curb and breaking his arm. Shout out to Jerry Blevins. My Jerry Blevins story is when I was in Chicago for the NLCS. We were walking to Wrigley, and I saw 2 guys wearing Blevins jerseys. I was like, what the fuck is that? Did you guys get those made? Like, can you buy? Who is a Blevins fan? And it was his family. It was like uncle and nephew. I was like, oh, all right, this makes sense.
Only way.
I mean, this is obviously a steamroll. Bernie Madoff he ruined. It's the Wilpons' fault, but if Bernie Madoff wasn't a fucking snake, the Mets wouldn't have been ruined. Maybe the Wilpons wouldn't be such cheap fucks. They'd still be cheap, but they wouldn't have this ultimate scapegoat to blame. I believe that Madoff definitely set them back, but the main problem was that it enabled the Wilpons to never spend again. I mean, we're like 15 years removed from it, and we're still talking about it. Everyone else in the world has recovered. Nobody is talking about the old recession. We're on to a new recession already. Everybody's already rebounded from the first one, and somehow the Wilpons are still crying poor over a Ponzi scheme that happened like nearly 2 decades ago. So, yes, it was fucked what actually happened, but more so is the dominoes that fell afterwards, allowing them to be assholes about it.
Yeah, Madoff is almost unfair. He's like using M. Bison in Street Fighter. It's like that guy is the fucking boss of bosses right here. So, you could have made a case that's like Madoff just is the Mets misery number one of all number ones. Blevins falling off the sidewalk. It is just like such a goddamn Mets story. It just makes me laugh every time. I have to say my favorite part of this Mets misery is just hearing you recite the matchups, and every time it just gets more preposterous. So
let's move on to the 8-9 then. Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry fight during picture day. Shea congratulates the Boston World Series victory. I don't know that one. What's that one?
So Kyle, you might be able to look this up. I don't know if they actually I think someone got a picture of it. During Game 6. Yeah. In the bottom of the 10th or whatever, it flashed like, congratulations to the Boston.
Oh my God. I didn't see that. Holy fuck.
Yeah, that's.
I would actually argue that's a good moment because it hexed the maybe somebody behind the scenes. You got to remember the timing of it all. Then back at that point, the Red Sox are cursed. They're the curse of the Bambino. At that point, it's probably 70 something years, and I think that could have been like a move. Like, oh my God, the Red Sox break the curse. Let's reverse jinx this bitch. Put that up on the screen. So if that's intentional, I don't know if it's embarrassing at all. If it's like a Mets slip up, it's a 50-50 coin flip for me. But boy, that's embarrassing.
No, Kyle, I'll send you. I'll text you the link to the picture. I found it here. I think that 100% has to be a reverse jinx. 100%. Like I pull that move. I have no fucking problem with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's a move and a half right there to ruin somebody's fucking
and then that's a fucking that's a curse breaker. That is, Red Sox fans are probably crying. They're like, oh my God, Dad, we actually saw this together. That guy's dad died the next day. He probably died that fucking inning for all we know.
I just pulled up an article. March 3rd, 1989, the South Florida Sun Sentinel. This is the article from the day that Darryl and Keith fought in picture day. Darryl's agent told him to walk out of camp if management refused to renegotiate his contract. And I guess that kind of, that was the beef. And Darryl swung at Keith and missed. And Darryl said, I've been tired of you for years. And Gary Carter was holding him back. And he said, don't hold him back. Let him through. And afterwards, Gary Carter said, hey, guys, let's take another picture. And Hojo said, hey, some team picture, huh? So, at that point, they said, his agent Goldschmidt said, Darryl is not going to come back and play for the Mets after this season. He will sit out the 1990 season until they trade him. They exercised their rights not to renegotiate. We wanted to keep the discussions going. We wanted a significant signing bonus. So, the Mets were being cheap. And Darryl said, I'm not going to be playing much longer for this organization. It's such a shame because you talk about teams that left championships on the table. And the 80s Mets are the ones. In an era where free agency wasn't quite what it used to be, if you stacked a team up, you had them for years. And they had the goods for probably 3, and they only walked away with 1. And it's because of assholes like this. And Darryl Strawberry's an asshole. We know that. Keith is not exactly easy to deal with, and I'm sure in the 80s he was even harder. So I don't even know if you can blame one side or the other here. I'm always going to take Keith's side, though.
It's also that. We know why the Mets probably didn't want whatever Darryl wanted. They're like, well, Darryl, we know you're addicted to cocaine. It's the fucking 80s right now, and we don't know how bad you're gonna get, and you're kind of an asshole. Keith said, the Mets built that entire team full of assholes and Gary Carter, basically, right?
Yeah, I know. Poor Gary. Jesus Christ, put him in an early. It's crazy that Doc and Darryl went on to win with the Yankees. It's just nuts.
Yeah. Yep.
To think about how, the equivalent now, it's if this all fell apart and Jacob deGrom and Pete Alonso went and won for the Yankees, that's how bad that would be it. Those would be the guys.
The fact that they were able to it's like dating the craziest, marrying the craziest person in the world, and your kid is like a nuclear scientist, because that's what like they created this beautiful baby in 1986.
Yep.
And then there was a couple other kids that were pretty good, and Mike Sosha fucked one of them up at one point. And there was a lot of shit that went wrong. But it's like almost amazing that they even got that one, which is so close. They were so close to not getting that. And thanks shout out to the dude that threw that thing up on the Jumbotron that jinxed it all. But yeah, I mean that fight was probably just as much a sign of what that team was and what that franchise became the years afterwards. That like I think that has to be the winner here now.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if there's a shred of possibility that the World Series congratulations was on purpose. That might actually be a positive. So yeah, 8 seed advances. The 5-12 matchup. We got a high possibility for upset, I believe here. Wilmer Flores crying on the no trade night, and last things Millage high-fiving the fans as he ran back out on the field after hitting a game-tying home run in the 9th inning. I think this is a 12 seed upset because the Wilmer night goes down in Mets lore. It's a good thing. I mean, that was one of the most memorable moments of that run, that 2015 season. I know it was embarrassing. I know that we looked like a bunch of fucking jamokes by A, having all this news leak, B, leaving a guy out there while he was like having an emotional breakdown. But in the end, he's not traded for a guy. We bring in a different dude, and everybody together makes the run. I think it's a great thing.
It's the symbol. I mean, that's the symbol of the holiday road year, right? That is the moment, and without that moment in time and the trade, it's like you have to include the crying with obviously Sandy going down there and having to address the reporters. I mean, that was probably. I mean, I don't remember the whole Chris Paul thing for Twitter. I don't remember. I mean, I guess it was around at that point, but
it wasn't that night. That was great.
This was the biggest, I think, like trade, non-trade ever. Because then it was like everyone had written their articles, tweeting it out, and it was just accepted as fact. And then everyone had to walk it back. Sandy doesn't know. I mean, anyone, you take like whoever the GM of the Rays is was probably like a 25-year-old who built Twitter, right? And they would probably not even know how to like deal with like the whole backlash. But Sandy's probably like, you fucking morons. Like Twitter isn't real life, which I mean, it is real life. It's been real life since like the day I logged onto it. So I think that kind of adds into the whole, and it's just, of course, it's the Mets that have this happen to them. And this was not long after, this was a couple days after the whole Padres thing, right?
Yep.
So it's like that all
4 days in Flushing.
Yeah, 4 days in Flushing.
It starts with that, and it ends with I think this night. And 2000
I think
will always eat at me, maybe more so than any season ever, because it was our chance to win, because good shit was happening to us. Like having the trade for Carlos Gomez go through and then be pulled back, and the guy that we get ends up being the best hitter in baseball for the second half of the season. That stuff does not happen to the Mets. And they had that miracle run. And it was like for the first time, probably since 1986, when they put that thing up on the scoreboard and actually like used the sports gods to their advantage. For the first time, we had the juju. We had things breaking our way, and we couldn't capitalize. Because that, I mean, hand up, I wanted Carlos Gomez. I thought Carlos Gomez was a more complete player. I thought he had like a defensive angle. I thought he was just better and younger and all that shit.
And he's an old Met too. Like that's we always love that we always bring back the fucking Reds.
And I would love that storyline. And I mean, he stunk. He was absolute trash. And Cespedes was otherworldly. Someone told me the other day on Twitter, you didn't have Cespedes for his prime. So, oh, buddy, if you think that there's a better Cespedes than 2015 Cespedes, please show it to me, because there's not a better player in the world ever than what Cespedes was doing that August.
I would argue we are the only team that had Yo Cespedes for his prime. His prime was the last third of the 2015 season. That was
his absolute peak. Everything else has been down since then. So I think that that's all a good thing. The Wilmer crying actually became because we won and went to the World Series, for the longest time, the Wilmer crying thing was like a rallying cry and a symbol of this team. And Wilmer was like our guy, and he's such a nice kid, and we had him since he was like 12 years old. Whereas Last Things Millage, high-fiving the fans. Last Things Millage was an all-time bust. He was like the first Met prospect when the internet was around. When like I remember there was a website that had all of those Chuck Norris quotes. That Last Things Millage, they applied them to Last Things Millage. It was like Last Things Millage, like Superman wears Last Things Millage PJs to bed, like those things,
Yeah. That's right.
Like, he was the first guy where I saw like internet hype about him. And I mean, we turned down a goddamn Manny Ramirez trade for the fucking guy. And he ended up being absolute fucking garbage. But there was a time he came up, he had that Gary Sheffield swing, and he fucking hit that home run, and he high-fived the fans. And that was one of those like crusty old baseball moments where it was like, can you believe he did that? It's like, fucking cares, man. Basketball players run through the tunnel, high five. Like, who fucking cares? Yeah, it was in the middle of the game. It's a little unorthodox, but it was so embarrassing though for him. That was a tough one because they lost like that same inning, right?
Did they lose that inning too? That makes it even funnier. I don't even remember.
Well, never mind. You're done. There he is. Look at this fucking guy. He looks like he's about to drop an album. Look at that. That's the hottest mixtape in the world right there. You kidding me?
L Mills, right? That was his name, L Mills.
Yep. Mills. Yeah, he had a rap album, right? He had like a rap single or some shit. I feel like that was part of his allure to that name. I remember when I first read it, I was like, Lastings? Is he Lastings Millage? Lastings? What do you say? Lastings Millage, the fucking – if you could – I would have retired if I was him right down in there. I would have just been the goat that never was, Be like, never mind. I'm at my peak right here. He was so fucking awesome to like get excited for, and then so goddamn bad.
I don't know, man. I love that Lastings Village high five. I was so good. I believed in him. The other part of the Lastings Village shit was that remember the whole thing with Billy Wagner, right? The know your place rook was noted rocker, which Wagner I feel like was one of our old school kind of guys, like a Brian McCann, little crusty, like he said. Yeah. And I think I have to vote. I think I'm going to pick Wilmer. You pick Millage. And really? How should we tie break it? Should we go to the chat? Should we have Kyle? What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's have Kyle. Kyle, break the tie here.
Let's see. That's a tough one. I think I worked for the Mets the year that the Wilmer thing was going on. And the stadium was absolutely fucking crazy to the point where some guy bought season tickets on the spot because he thought we were getting Carlos Gomez. So I love Lastings. I hated the fact that Willie Randolph tried to run the Mets like the Yankees. Like no one could have facial hair. He like called him bitched him out for it. Like if we don't have Willie at that point, I think Lastings actually ends up being like a decent player. Yeah, because he let him do his own thing.
Right. Shit. I mean, what is worse here, though? That's my thing. Is like I think the Wilmer thing is good, and the Lastings thing was right.
Yeah, you got to go with Lastings.
It's a 12-seed upset, Clem.
Yeah,
sorry, bud.
I just texted you guys the video of it. I don't know if we could put it up here. I think Major League Baseball might like shut the stream down on our Twitter account on the spot if we even like showed like a little clip of it. But I forgot this. It was
whoever this is. What the fuck?
Huh? I'm blocked too by him.
Mets Rewind? What the fuck, Mets Rewind, you goddamn pussy.
This is going to be your new ninja pitcher or whatever his name is. I forgot that this was off of Armando Benitez.
Armando!
It puts a whole new spin on this entire saga here. I forgot about that.
It was his first home run. I forgot that too.
Yeah, that's a big deal. It's just you have to remember, like we didn't know we were getting Yo for like another 24 hours. We thought the Mets were going to not make the trade.
Right.
We thought that we didn't know Yo was going to turn into Babe Ruth. All that kind of shit. Bro. Like that 36 hours or 24 hours, whatever, 12 hours was such misery and then it was just like you couldn't look.
All right, you know what? You swayed me. I'm back on your pick because I'm putting myself back in my shoes that week. It was after the Padres thing, and I remember being like, this is the worst franchise ever. So, yeah, I think ultimately it ends up being a good thing. But that night, was embarrassing. Yeah.
Whereas Millage was a good thing at the time, where it's like, this guy's awesome, he's fun, he's going to be great. He just killed Armando Benitez to just being every other Mets prospect.
Right. All right, you won me back over. It's the 12 seeds out, 5 seeds in. I don't think that's going to make much more of a run because there's so many more embarrassing moments. But we'll give it. Yeah, here it is. Let's see. Pow! And he pimped it. He knew it. Fuck you, Armando Benitez. I used to love those bleachers, man.
I don't know if this is against any kind of violations, but at Mets Rewind is the guy who posted it. Take him off Twitter.
Yeah, there it is.
I mean, come on, like
who cares? Who cares? It's such a fucking fun moment. Look at these kids, grown men having fun. Jeez.
Yankee fan, get that Yankee fan who was giving.
What was that? Get out of here, dickhead! God, that was a bomb too.
And like, this is the thing. You would think if someone told you today, like, this guy got killed for giving fans high fives, you'd honestly think he did it. Like, as he rounded first, he went up the right field line, then went to second. It's like, no, he did it the next inning on his way to his. He didn't even go out of his way. He was walking to right field. That's all he was doing.
You think that would be a big deal today?
I honestly don't.
Aaron Judge does that like every fucking weekend, and he's having catches with the players from the outfield, like with the kids. Yeah. I'm telling you, it was just Willie Randolph. Like, Willie was just an asshole.
I also think that, like, you're a rookie. It's your first home run, and that's probably showing the pitcher up.
And I don't want to slander the Pope. I feel like Mike probably grilled him. I feel like Francesa probably roast him. Like, you, this kid over here, what are you asking, man?
The kid did that? He did what, Mons? All right, let's get back to
the Wilmer thing, though, it's just like, he cried that night and it was embarrassing, but that set it all up for him hitting the walk-off and like doing the jersey. Yeah. That's tough. That's a tough one.
For the year. We'll never get that again.
Holiday Road, yeah.
Even if they win somehow one day, which they won't, but even if they do, it'll never be the same as that 2015 year. It was so much fun. God,
there has to be a 30 for 30 on that. Like, if they don't do that, I don't know what they're thinking.
I mean, 4 Days in Flushing is one of the best docs you'll ever see. I wish we were a little bit bigger when that happened because I feel like we would have got to be a part of that because they asked Evan Roberts and a lot of the personalities to be there. I think we would have been in that had that happened like this year. You know what? Let's wrap up on that. Let's wrap up on a high note because there's plenty more misery to get to. We're at an hour anyway. So
yeah, I liked where we're going to start next week. I think next week is going to be a really good jumping point here, and Roman might have a really quick run. Well, the next matchup literally in the bracket is Doc missing the 86 parade in a crack house. I think that might go on.
That's a great cliffhanger for you guys. Come on back. We'll talk about Daryl and Doc. Doc being in a fucking heroin hole, a K-hole that he can't make it to the fucking World Series parade. Even when we win, we're an embarrassment.
That's our fucking quote right there. Rosie Perez. Sometimes when you win, you really lose. Sometimes when you lose, you really win. That's kind of what all these. That's the Wilmer thing. When you lose, you really win. That's exactly what it's like. So.
And when you lose, you lose.
Gotta believe.
Sometimes when you win, you lose, and sometimes when you lose, you lose. That's that. So until then, you gotta believe.
Gotta believe.